Queensland's favourite son, Dick Johnson, is in second place, and that must feel comfortable at this stage, Dick.
Yeah, mate, I'm a bit busy, I tell you.
It's the sort of track that keeps you busy.
You're not wrong. Poor old Tyre's a really competent workout. She's pretty loose in the rear end. But God, I tell you what, that Volvo, mate, it's probably like President Marcos's pockets when he left the Philippines.
No doubt about you. You haven't lost your sense of humour. You're running in second at the moment. How much do you expect your tyres to go off as you get towards half distance?
No more than what they already have, I hope.
I see.
Otherwise I'll be getting a lot busier than what I am now, I tell you.
Yes, it's really a problem, and the traffic's a problem around here when you come up on slower cars.
Well, I think it's... where the problem comes in is in traffic like this. And now Brock's caught up, you see? That's what I mean about bloody guys that get in the goddamn road and spoil a good race.
Well, we're not going to spoil a good race. I'll let you get back to it. Thanks for the call.
Right, pal.
Oh. Dick Johnson. And the man who is really howling in the traffic is, of course, Tony Longhurst, car number 25. The car that was offered to Jim Richards to drive. You can see that Longhurst is running away from Jim Richards at this stage. That wouldn't please Richards. It would certainly please at least Frank Gardner, because he's got a light car, enough power, and he's going to make it very difficult for not only Peter Brock, but also for Dick Johnson over the distance.
It's amazing. This car just would not go in practice and in qualifying on Saturday. And Richards opted to go back to the 635, in which he won the touring car title last year. And lo and behold, Longhurst has slipped into the 25 car, and it's going like smoke.
They were expecting more brake horsepower in this car than they really got, and I think that was the reason that Richards went back. But the thing that was really going to put this car towards the head of the field at the end of the 52 laps was the way it was going to handle its tyre wear.
Well, we're not at the end of the 52 yet.
That's
and he's
right.
already up there.
Well, he's maintaining his pace while the others are going off all the time. So Longhurst now getting the 05 Commodore lined up in the gun sights. And as we heard Dick Johnson say a few moments ago, Peter Brock breathing right up his exhaust pipe as well.
Well, there's the two cars that Tony Longhurst is closing on. Dick Johnson, of course, and Peter Brock. At this stage, Robbie Francevic in car number 10 still continues to lead, and quite comfortably, the opening round of the touring car title.
About 300 metres ahead.
Dick Johnson is in second place, Peter Brock followed by Tony Longhurst. Jim Richards is the next place driver, and just back behind him, of course, we take in our race leader, Robbie Francevic, and doing it quite nicely. Out in front, not really the track that suits the Volvo, but doing it comfortably. Robbie Francevic, let's take a look. What makes the man and his success? He won, of course, the Oran Park and Simmons Plains round of the 85 Australian Touring Car Championship. He won the 85 Nissan Sport 500 in Wellington. 44 years of age, from Auckland, and driving the Volvo Turbo, turned out by the Mark Petch crew. Robbie Francevic in the Turbo Volvo and doing strongly here today.
And the Nissan in the pits, Fred Gibson, team manager, leaning through the right-hand door, talking with Fury. And the dream run appears to have come to a close with a wheel off there. I wonder whether or not they did end up chewing out a set of tyres like we suspected. And let's have a look at how Peter Brock's going in the field, because there's a real battle on here between himself and Dick Johnson.
And just look at this scrap between Tony Longhurst, Peter Brock and Dick Johnson. They've been swapping for the last 2 laps of this race. Here's Johnson fighting back. He, of course, was taken by Brock. Priest fender too, by the look of it. And Tony Longhurst has really been harrying these two V8s. This is where the interest is in the race. Robbie Francevic will go to him later, but of course he's leading it and increasing his lead all the time. To the top of the hill.
Well, Longhurst getting out of shape. I think that he's really starting to push the issue, perhaps just a fraction too early. 27 laps down out of 52, and we all know that the tyres of the Commodore and the Mustang probably won't hold up. So Tony really forcing the pace. He just doesn't want to force it too much.
The race leader, Robbie Francevic, second Peter Brock, third Dick Johnson, fourth is Tony Longhurst. And let's have a look at how Longhurst put the pressure on Dick Johnson and Peter Brock. Caught out wide, Johnson finds Brock, snapping down the inside of him. That takes away second on the road, but look at Longhurst getting the car absolutely sideways. And of course he skated past Dick Johnson, but Johnson has come back to take him again. Close racing in the opening round of the touring car title.
Real double shuffle there, and it's ended up putting Longhurst back into fourth position. Still pressuring Dick Johnson though, and giving Peter Brock a bit of a breathing space now as he moves away from that pair, but in a almost futile pursuit, I think, of Robbie Francevic, unless something goes wrong with the Volvo, and it doesn't look like it at this stage.
Francevic's gap over Brock is now something like 15 seconds, so he keeps pulling out a second a lap here and there. And now Peter Brock has managed to open up a gap over Dick Johnson.
Interesting scrap this, because you'll notice Peter Brock coming out of the turn, Dick Johnson is there, Longhurst is there, and Jim Richards starting to come back on the boil again in the BMW 635.
Is he going to prove us all bad judges and come home in this car yet?
Could be, he's done it before.
Richards knows this circuit well, he's won a lot of races here.
He's in fifth place, Jim Richards, on the track at the present time, and sixth place is held by New Zealand's Graham Crosby, driving a Commodore, but well back at this stage.
Tony, he's going to be
He's
so lucky to save that.
There he goes, bang on the inside of Johnson. Dick would love that. He climbs up on the curve all over it as well. Jim sitting back behind, just thinking, well, it won't be too long before I should be able to do the same. Johnson, meantime, is feeling the pinch, as he said to us earlier. Tyres had already gone off, so he's battling tyre wear the biggest possible way. And Longhurst now, with a little bit of breathing space, will go after Peter Brock. And while that's happening, Jim Richards is closing in for the kill on Dick Johnson. After
30 laps, Robbie Francevic leading the race from 0.5, Peter Brock. Then 25, Tony Longhurst, and 17, Dick Johnson. Jim Richards is next on the racetrack, followed, as I said, by Graham Crosby. But Robbie Francevic, as we said, doing it so well up front.
Dick Johnson comes down into the loop area, and from race cam, of course, there's the scrap in front. Tony Longhurst trying to come up on a slower car, takes him on the inside. Peter Brock just ahead of the two of those. Longhurst still doing a bit of wobbling in the car.
Yeah, he's getting sideways a lot.
Here's Terry Finnegan and Huon Valley entry. He's been smoking the last couple of laps, but Johnson manages to put a lap on him and comes out still chasing, of course.
Look for the race cam shot as the car comes around here. You get an idea of the phenomenal crowd that's jammed Amaroo Park today for this Better Breaks 100.
Is our race leader, Robbie Francevic of New Zealand, and the Mark Petch Volvo Turbo, number 10. Car that was hot and cold last season. I'll tell you what, might be running cool, but it's a very hot combination of Francevic and the Volvo for season 86.
Francevic had a couple of wins last year, a second, a fourth, a sixth, a seventh, a ninth. Two did not finish results, one pole position, and he didn't start one of the rounds.
Coming up, of course, on Mike Bergman in number 33. Let's go back and have a look at the BMW action. It's been intense here as Longhurst keeps the pressure going on Peter Brock. Brian Callahan just in front there, but he's about to have a lap put on him by Dick Johnson. That all happens as we speak. And now Longhurst and Peter Brock. Frank Gardner looks worried. Not really. He looks that way if he's happy.
Richards has closed right up on this group as well, and is right on Dick Johnson's tailpipe, so it's a four-way dice now.
Yes, it's on for second place in earnest. Gentleman Jim, 62. The second of the JPS cars, carrying also sponsorship logos for Bob Jane T-Marts, who of course are strongly supporting Gary Rogers, and another Frank Gardner prepared BMW for the ATCC for 1986.
He's in fact out on the racetrack in seventh place at the moment, Gary Rogers, in the second of the 325 BMWs.
Richards owns a T-Mart in Melbourne, the suburb of Coburg.
And of course Longhurst has gone through on the run into the loop area. Here's Richard starting to put some muscle up on Dick Johnson. Sorry, Dick, he says. The man has to do what a man has to do. And takes Brock on the same straight.
With ease.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happened to Brock here.
And you heard how hard it was for Johnson to get power to the ground as he came out of there in third. And now Johnson makes a move on Peter Brock side by side. And out comes the hand. Peter Brock acknowledging something. Whether it's a flag or has he got a problem with the Commodore?
He's gone to the pits.
Richards goes through, then Johnson. Brock has disappeared to pit lane.
So the two mobile Commodores in the pits. Really, I guess in Peter Brock's situation, the tyres have gone off, and as you can see, they're going for a change of rubber. Maybe 52 laps around Amaroo Park, perhaps like a 500k race at any other racetrack.
Well, it looks like they've gone back on to Pirelli D3s. I think they started the race on the D3 compound, which is the harder of the Pirelli radial tyre compounds. Tony Di Gennaro there, the team manager, just to the left of screen. We can barely see him. The car up on its central jacking system and leaves the pits again, but he would have lost probably a good lap in that exercise.
This man is holding down 6th place on the racetrack. It's Graham Crosby from New Zealand in a Holden Commodore. Just up ahead of him on the track in the 3rd of the JPS BMW cars is Gary Rogers.
This is the car that was campaigned last year at the James Hardy 1000 and other Australian events by Denny Holm and Ray Smith. It was formerly the Auckland Coin and Bullion car, now in the hands of Graham Crosby, who finished 2nd in the World Motorcycle Championships back in '82 for Team Yamaha.
Charlie O'Brien just in behind this pair too. You've probably seen, there he is, just slipping into to view through the corners in the yellow number 7 car. That's him, the bumper-to-bumper BMW.
Crosby remembered for his brilliant rides here at Amaroo Park probably 10 or more years ago now on the Kawasaki. Now adapting extremely well in the '86 Evolution Holden Commodore. This is Gary Rogers, the second of the 325 BMWs in this field. Rogers is in fact now the owner of the car that Jim Richards is driving, but as we've spoken about already, they decided to do the old switcheroo on Saturday because Jim felt happier in the bigger car, so Gary inherited the smaller one once again. And he will contest the entire Australian Touring Car Championship under the colours of Bob Jane T-Marts. His car will be repainted orange when Richards' new car is ready.
It's a big break and a deserving break, I think, for an aggressive driver like Gary Rogers.
He's a good campaigner, very quick, and at this stage of the game, up in 5th position.
13 laps remaining, in fact, with Rogers in 5th from the top. It's Robbie Francevic still at the head of affairs by a big space, ahead of Tony Longhurst in the 1st of the JPS cars, then teammate Jim Richards, followed by Dick Johnson's Mustang in 4th place. Then car number 23, the man we're talking about, Gary Rogers, and the car behind him, of course, Graham Crosby from New Zealand, and Charlie O'Brien closing up quite quickly now in the yellow BMW.
Yes, the O'Brien car is the ex-Archibald, Trevor Crowe, Neville Crichton and Tony Longhurst car. So Charlie doing very well in that, and he now owns 2 of those 635 BMW.